And folks raise their hand and talk anyway, so maybe everybody should just get
We'll be talking about the budget, right?
It is relevant to the budget, actually. Just the first thing, in terms of some folks' concern about Hightstown in terms of its image and compared to other towns, I'm going to tell you this is a nice town. I go door to door here in Hightstown and talk to voters, and it, by far...
This is a hearing on the budget.
I understand, I'm getting to it. Okay, so this is actually a very friendly town. It's probably one of the friendliest I've talked to. And speaking of the budget, folks are extraordinarily concerned about property taxes, I'll tell you. Door to door, that's the same thing we hear every time is property taxes, is their concern. Since you want me to make this as relevant to the budget as possible, I'm going to repeat what I believe is the role of government. And it's very important because we must always talk about principles whenever we're going to talk about policy proposals. Whenever we're going to put money to something, we need to know why we're going to put money to something. So here we go. Transparency, no debt, and the protection of individual liberty. A government that falls short of that is unacceptable, quite honestly, because it's just treating people like they are slaves. It's not acceptable. So with that in mind, I do want to ask some questions. What is your municipal debt? What is your total debt?
Currently about over $8 million.
Why would your municipal clerk need $2,000 more?
I don't know if she does. What section of the budget are you talking about?
I apologize. I didn't write down the particular section, but it does say that your municipal clerk.
Is it salary? Is it
I don't know. He wasn't quite transparent.
Why not? Yeah, I don't have the full budget in front of me, so I can't answer that. If you'd like to, I could answer. Just send me an email, and I'll be happy to respond to any of those.
I appreciate that. Why do your engineering services and costs amount to $30,000 more than last year if the budget is capped?
Well, basically, we've had some more activities in the borough regarding Borough Hall and project manager that was hired. So that's in years past.
Why does your planning board, why does it need an additional $10,000?
We're doing a re-examination of the master plan this year.
Why does that cost $10,000 more?
$50,000, depends how in depth you want to go, but it's a big project.
Okay.
Very big project.
Why is the cost of your recycling, why does that have to be $4,000 more?
We probably get I don't know.
The rates went up. That was something I had asked about.
The rates went up. Why another $6,500 for maintenance of parks?
If we're talking about salary and wages, basically it's the public works department, just a reallocation, but the total public works salary and wages is pretty much the same. So it's just a reallocation as far as,
So we take a look at any municipal budget for any municipality in New Jersey and take a look at public works. It's broken down into various sections: snow removal, parks maintenance, and things of that nature. So depending what the full public works budget might be, just a matter of how it's allocated. So you have to take a look. Once you get familiar with it, you'll see the entire budget and kind of compare it. So sometimes that could be a little bit misleading, or there might be some interesting things that are going on in a particular area that might call for an increase.
And this, if I may,
Please.
are we going to follow the DCA's recommendation and prepare a user-friendly budget?
last I heard on user-friendly budget, they were incorporating it into next year's budget format. What the state is doing is, instead of us using our own Excel spreadsheet, basically, the state is devising one that all towns are going to use, similar to what they did with the annual debt statement. And they're going to incorporate elements of the user-friendly budget into that document. That was the last I heard. The original call for a user-friendly budget was going to be after the adoption of the budget anyway.
I was just at a seminar where Tom Neff was, and he said that they're not prepared to use, they haven't developed it yet.
on the website and an electronic version that you can download and use.
Right. Yeah, no, I've looked at it.
But they're not accepting at this point, you're saying?
It's not required, it's right?
No, right now it's recommended for municipalities to give the citizens a better understanding of where their taxes are going. I brought it up back in January, December, when we entered the budget cycle.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In your budget, when you refer to your total assets, do you count the value of all township or town borough property in your assets?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another comment I want to make, I've heard the word vision about 4 times tonight. I was really glad to hear that because we certainly don't hear that in East Windsor. Also really glad that you answered my questions because they don't answer questions really in East Windsor either. So,
$5 at the end, $5 a question. No, if you have a credit card.
that's a form of revenue. Okay. In terms of a long-term vision, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to propose something to you that I think is a moral imperative. I would say we actually need to, because the country is in debt and the state is in debt and the municipalities are on debt, we need to talk about actually county governments and eliminating municipal governments. And each township would have 1, 2, maybe 3 representatives, and they would meet at the county. Now, this is not an unusual concept. This is done in other places in the country. Because consolidation is great, but consolidation isn't enough. And it does get quite controversial when you talk about what does East Windsor think, and what does the township think, who's benefiting, yada, yada, yada.
If you have any time, I'd be happy to talk to you about that personally, you know.
I would appreciate that.
Good.
Because I think that just in the long term, people have been talking about is Hightstown sustainable? Quite honestly, America right now isn't sustainable. We're $17 trillion in debt. We should be doing only things that amount to spending decreases and only things that amount to trying to find a way to get a surplus so that you can put that surplus onto the debt and eventually get to a point where we have no debt and we have just surplus. So when things like hurricanes happen and damage property, wow, we've got this surplus fund that we can go take care of this. We don't have to have a big concern about it. So that's something that I think is also very important regarding budgetary visions.
If you send me an email with some time that you have scheduled, I'll try to find some time for you.
That would be so wonderful. It's great to see people here actually caring, because like I said, it is not so in East Windsor.
Moving to Hightstown.
We got a place in Hightstown for you.
Hightstown, come on down.
I have a rental. That would be wonderful. And comment about Irene. There was a woman who spoke about how to view the concern of damage in general. Quite honestly, I don't think it's the government's job to take care of...
Well, we do have a second public comment session, so if you're not specifically have a question on the budget, I'd ask you to wait. It's a general question, or public comments.
Well, this is a comment of, this is relevant to the budget, right, Hurricane Irene?
No. But I mean, but your question has to be relevant. It's specific to the budget.
Okay, well, we do have to consider spending money when...
Yeah, but that's a general comment. It's not specific to the 2013 Hightstown budget. Again, you can come back right now. I mean, at the end of it, we'll have a second public comment session, so you can have general comments regarding that.
Okay, that's fine. Then I just want to make one last comment about transparency, because this is relevant to this budget. This is relevant to every budget. I didn't find the budget all that perfectly transparent. Again, I asked you what the debt was. Maybe I'm just not good at reading, but I didn't see the debt stated in the first page or anything. I think that should be stated in the first page. My platform, actually, quite honestly, I'm going to, if I'm elected and I get to pass a bill, one of the first bills that I would push is mandating municipalities, as well as the state, to have as transparent as possible a budget. And I mean, the folks here, we need to be talking about the debt, because that affects us tremendously. And so I just hope that next time to see that on page 1 of your budget proposal, any literature regarding a budget. And a comment about budgets and someone made a comment about job losses that could inevitably happen with budgets. People are going to lose jobs in this economy, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting into a second Great Depression, it's a fact. Where are the jobs going to be lost? Well, some are going to be lost in government level, some are going to be lost in the private sector. They're going to get lost, we need to rebuild, and we need to take initiatives as individuals to just make do properly. And I will leave it at that. And one last comment, I'm sorry, just about the documentary. This isn't relevant, but it's so important because...
Hold on, again, I gotta ask you.
You're right, I apologize.
Really?
Come on.
Budget,